review. So this is our plan today. It's actually finishing up Access Project 2 and get partly started on Access Project 3. Can you believe last week of classes? There is class Monday, doing more review, and then to let you know, the final is a hands-on like the midterm, an Excel project, and an Access project, and then just a very short Word and PowerPoint just to refresh your memory on those. But we are finishing up Access Project 2. Just a few more queries, giving you a little more variety in queries. Let's see. Access. Go to my recent. There's the recent one, I believe. That is my section. That's section 1. There it is, section 2. This is where we ended last time. We got all the way to AC2-27, sorting on multiple fields. And you know what, just to get these ordered in the right way, sometimes you'll see this with computers. If you don't put a 0 in front of things, they don't always sort correctly. So let's change that to AC2-08. Let's try that. Rename. I put a 0 there. There, now they sort in the right order. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at the sorting on multiple fields, and we're going to build on that. Remember how you can view how it was made? You can right-click Design View, and it takes you right to the design page. Or you can double-click on your query, and it takes you to Datasheet View. I'm going to open up that, and I can go Datasheet View. This shows me the results of the query. Design View shows me the design of the query. And this is where we ended last time, where we were reviewing treatment costs, just these columns in the treatment cost table, sorting it by animal type, then by cost. Remember, left to right is the sorting order. So sort by animal type first, and then within animal type, they get sorted that way. One thing they wanted to show you is you can, in the design view, you can tell it, I don't need to see all, in this case, how many records? All 14 records. You can go under design under my query, and I can tell it, just give me the first 5 results. This isn't terribly meaningful for a small table like we have, where 5 results versus 14 results isn't a big difference. But for some databases where you have millions of records, if you don't give it a return, just a few of them, it will go and search all million records and return them to you, where you only can see the first 5, and then you have to page through 200,000 pages to see all of them. It may slow things down to get all the million records and then only look at the first 10 or so. So you can tell it, just give me the first 5. That's the return value there, and that is a query that we're going to save as just what they call a top values query. And let's see, they're a custom, or you can say return all. So we can say return the first 5 and save this as M02Q09, but it is on page AC2-28. All I did was change the return to just show me the first 5. Now, a little bit of exploration into the geekiness of query database. If you look at SQL view, there is the show me the top 5. That's where that comes in the actual command to the database. Now, would you rather learn how to use this and remember, oh, select top 5, or just come back to the design view and say, oh yeah, there's the return top values. Remember what Access is. It's trying to make this a little more user-friendly. This is the only thing they had before Access came along. You had to learn database programming. For the average person, very scary. But this is supposed to make it a little friendlier. But still, there's plenty of complexity there to be still scary for many people. And remember, for you, if you are at least familiar with what Access is doing, I don't expect you to be database experts, but if you are at least don't run and hide when someone mentions Access database, they'll know that, hey, you've had some experience, and maybe you'll be the top one on the interview, where everyone else, oh, I know PowerPoint, I know Word, and I can do tables in Excel. But then when they mention access, it's just like deer in the headlights. For you, it'll be, yeah, I've messed with tables, and we did those queries, and just knowing the words will get you higher up than your average person. Most people don't have a clue of what access can do. Okay, so we want to save this one. All we did was change the returns, but they would like to save this as a new query. So remember how to do that. Don't do a file save because we want to give it a new one. We do file save as, and then this little goofiness here, change it to save object as, and then another save as. So we're saving it as a new query within our database. So instead of copy of, I'm going to call this, I'm just going to change this from AC227 to AC228. I'm going to remove the copy of part of it. And sorting on multiple fields, top 5. So it's the same as that other query, I just added the top 5 values. That's all that query was. They made it a whole new query just because we changed the how many we're returning. And now it shows up there in my list of queries. Not a huge change. But it's been a little vacation here. We're going to do another few queries just to refresh your brain. And here comes a slightly more advanced query. I'm going to close this one because we always like to close things unless we're using them. We're going to get data from both tables. The appointment table, let's just take a quick look. We have appointments, they list appointments, and they reference a treatment number and a veterinarian and owner. Remember, that is the relationship to the other table. The treatment table has a treatment number and then other information. Let's just take a quick look at the treatment table. Here we have our treatment numbers and then a name and an animal type and the cost. Suppose I need to list appointments and what treatments they have. Well, then I need information from both the appointments table and not just the treatment number, but the details about that treatment. So I'm going to close these tables now that I know what's in them, and we're going to build a query using both tables. Watch how this is done. They call it a join, but don't worry, that's the geeky term for getting information from two tables. So let's create a new query in Design View. Because we want information from both the appointments table, double-click, and the treatment cost table, double-click, we want to do a show table on both of those and then close the show table dialog. And what you should see then is two tables with their fields listed with a little line in between them showing, oh, when you refer to treatment number, oh, that's referring to a treatment in the treatment cost table. And all you have to do then to get the information you want from both tables is choose, we're going to choose the fields. I'm going to get this right. Looking down here on page AC230, we want to see the appointment date, and the appointment date is only in the appointments table, but we want to see the treatment, animal type, and cost. Well, that's over here in the treatment cost table. So I double-click on that, double-click on that, and double-click on that. Oops, I actually did click twice. Delete. And here we have information from one on the appointments table, and for any appointment, get the information about the treatment for that appointment. So this gives us not just the treatment number, but the extra details about that treatment. We also want to do some sorting. We want to sort by date, so in chronological order ascending, and we want to then sort, if it's on the same date, sort by treatment. That would be the name of the treatment, so that would be alphabetically sorted. It's in the treatment cost table, but we're sorting it ascending. So any appointments on the same date, they'll be sorted alphabetically. Let's see what we get now when we run this query, getting information from both tables. Here we go. Sorted by date. And we have the name of the treatment. And then if it's the same date, it's sorted alphabetically on that same date. So this is what they call a join query. And let's take a look at the SQL view just to show you how that basically adds this crazy thing called inner join. That's why they call it a join query. I just think of it, call it a linked query, or a query that gets information from two tables. They call it a join, and this is the join. I'm referencing treatment number, and then for every appointment, its treatment gets listed. Without that line there, it's not going to work correctly. We need the database to know there is this very special relationship between those two tables. And we're going to save that query, and we're going to save it as, since I started a new one, I can just do Control S. We're going to save that one as AC2-31. And its appointments and treatments. Don't know why they switched from M02 Q0 something to an actual meaningful name. But this time they kept a more meaningful name. So remember what we did, just showing information from multiple tables. When the tables are related, it should automatically show you that linked or that joining information. Now there's different ways of joining things. I'm not going to make you go into the properties of the join, but you can actually double click on that little line. And suppose you had treatments that had no appointments. Well, you can say, well, show me all the appointment, or show me all the treatments anyway, even though there was no appointment associated. So if I did that and I ran the query, I would get all the treatments and some that actually had appointments associated. Usually that isn't worthwhile information. So most of the time we use what the normal joins called they call this the normal join. Otherwise, they have a name for left and right. But that's more for just knowing those are possible ways of doing that query. Called a left or you can adjust the properties of that join. So I'm going to go back to the join fields. I only care about appointments that actually, or treatments that actually have an appointment. Okay, so that one we saved. Now we're ready to go on to another query. Since we're done with this one, I can close it. And since I adjusted a column, yes, I want to save the changes I made. Now we're getting into the extra things that we do. And I want to first show you the 3-click method of creating a report on any query. I could create a report on tables. We did that way at the start. But I can create a report on a query as well. And remember, a report is just a nice printable, nicely formatted for printing view of the data. So let's show you the 3-click technique. Suppose you were given the assignment or the step in a project, say, create a report on the appointments and treatments query. What they mean is, click the appointments and treatments query that I just made, click create, and click report. And it generates a report of that information with pretty standard formatting on a single page. A little bit disappointed that 128 doesn't fit quite right. I think I can adjust the height of that. But that's a report. 3 clicks and I generate a report. Let me show you that again, just so you know this is easy to do. Even if I don't save it, I can easily recreate. Click the query you want a report of, click create, and click report. It creates that report, and you can adjust things. There's a whole other class in report design and adjusting that. You don't have to worry about report design, but there is a design view of reports. There's a print preview and there's a report view, and they look about the same in the report view versus layout view. So now we've generated a report. I'm going to save that. It is happy to give it the same name as your query. I'm just going to add the word, let's see, what page are we on here? I'm going to add the word, I'll call it AC, well actually that's starting there. Let's go ahead and I'll call that AC234. Change it to AC234. Because it's a report and not a query, it's okay to have the exact same name as another query. Access knows it's the report named AC something appointments and treatments. It doesn't care, but it won't have two reports that can have the same name. So this is the report. It's only one page, one row per result in my query. That was the 3-click method. We also, in the book, they actually have you create a report using the report wizard, just to give you a little taste of what's available and using the report wizards. So I'm going to close this one because I'm done with it. And let's try creating one this time. I still have that query selected, but this time instead of doing the easy 3-click query create report, we're going to jump to the report wizard just to give us a little extra understanding of what possible options are available that the wizard can do for me. So I click report wizard. It selects the table that I had selected there. If I realize I had selected the wrong thing to get a report of, you could actually always change what you're generating the report from by going to that pull down. But since we're happy with the AC231, I'm going to go ahead and let the query report wizard use that query information. I could one at a time select my fields, or just do the double arrow. Yes, I want to see all those fields. So far it's the same as though I clicked it on the report, just the standard options. Now you could decide, I don't care to see the cost. You could decide what goes in the report. Now I can click next, and I can choose, am I grouping things? Again, sort of like the sorting. Do I sort by appointment date and then everything under date? Have those treatments and types and costs on that date? It gives you that option. We're not going to worry about grouping. We're just showing that grouping is possible. Next, I can also decide, do I do additional sorting? I know that the query itself was sorted, but I could say, you know what? I want to sort it a different way. I could sort it by other fields if I so chose. So you can override the sorting if you'd rather sorting in a different way in the report. We're going to skip that as well and just go with what came out of the report and do no other sorting. But it does give you that option. The query wizard does, or the report wizard gives you a few more options. The standard is a tabular formatted report. You could choose a columnar report or a justified report. Or you can choose whether or not to fit it on a page. We're going to go with the default settings: tabular, fit it to a page, and portrait orientation. So the wizard gives you a few more options, generally easy to understand. If you want to dig through all those options on your own, you can go right to report design and figure out how to create a report all on your own, which is a lot more challenging. And we do that in the advanced Office course. Now next, the only thing left to do is decide what name do I want to give the report. And I'm just going to call this AC. We're on a different page now when they get finally to the end of using the wizard. And they are on page 2-35. So I'm going to call that AC2-35. Appointments and treatments from wizard, or using wizard. Using wizard. We essentially get the same report if we do all the default selections using the wizard, but it gives you the chance to see what options are available. Now it does pop me into print preview this time instead of the layout view, but I can always close print preview and oh man, it sends me back to design view. That's pretty scary, but I can go back to the layout view. I don't need to see the field list. Or you could go to report view. Report view and layout view look almost exactly the same. Layout view, you have a little more option of adjusting things. I can adjust heights of some things. Where report view, it's all there. You can't adjust things. So we use the wizard, generate a report. Most of the time, all I'm going to expect you to do is if you'll have a question like create a report of the of query number AC224. If you click create report, and you have a report. And no, I'm not saving that because that was just a showing. This one, I'm going to make sure to save that because I have adjusted a little bit. Yes. It shows up down here in the reports section of your navigator over here. So now you created a report. We can always go and print the report. I have the report over here. I can have it open. I can always do a file print, or let's see if I control print. Control P does work as well. Control P, and I can send it to a PDF or send it to a printer. Don't worry about printing it out. PDFs, I've generally done so many prints to PDFs nowadays and sent them in email rather than doing a hard copy. Easy to print, and it's fitting into a page. It usually will give you a print preview. I often like to view the print preview to see what it's going to look like on my printer. And there's the print preview view. And I can say, well, what would it look like if I printed it on multiple pages? Or give me the view as 2 pages, zoom in and out. What it would look like if I did it on landscape, or chose different columns. But then I can say, oh, I'm not printing it. I just want to see what it might look like. And I can adjust my settings back to portrait and close print preview. So the reports are where you would give to your boss what you produced from various queries that got the important information. Like the boss asked you for, give me the appointments listed chronologically, what the treatment names are, what kind of animal, and what's the cost. You could say, oh, I can do a report on that. Or if somebody's doing the database for you, you can tell them, you know, I saw in that class, we could generate reports from queries. And they'll say, oh, yeah, that's how we do it. Maybe I won't charge you as much because you know something about databases. Maybe they'll say, we're going to keep you around because no one else knows anything about databases. Now we did tables, we did reports, and we did forms back then. Remember what forms are? They're the user-friendly way of viewing information. We did it for editing data in tables. Remember the 3-click method. I can choose a table, create, and a form. I can do the same thing. I can create forms based on queries that I have created. So they would like us to do a query using that appointments and treatments query that we did at the very end to create a form for this, but we're going to create a slightly different kind of form. Making sure we're doing the right form. So remember the 3-click method to create a form. I choose the query, I choose create, and I click form, and I get what they call a simple form. Simple form with 4 text boxes for each column that was in my table, or in the result of my query. I can navigate through that with the little arrows left and right, little arrow thingies.
Form or form design?
We just did write the form. You don't have to worry about form design. That's for the advanced class. You're welcome to explore form design. But we're not expecting you to have to know anything about form design. Remember how that's done? I'm going to do the 3-click method. Create a form for viewing that query information. Click the query, click create, and click form. Simple form. And I will see, are we saving this one? We're going to save this form, and we're on page AC237, so I'm going to do a Control S save. Oops. Control save. And it has the same name as the query, but I'm going to rename that AC237 because that's the page we're on. And they say create a form, and then I can click OK. Now to use the form, I've already shown you, we can navigate left and right, and we can even go to the very end and add information. Oh, it's not letting us add information in this form because we're getting information from a query. Let's see if I went to form view, will it let me add information? Yeah, I think it actually does. No, it doesn't, because we're viewing read only. We can't change the field, but I can go to the last line, and I can go back through every row in the appointments and treatments query results. And they mentioned in the book that I can send information to a Excel spreadsheet. But we want to create a split form. I must have skipped over the split form. Let me go back. They wanted us to create a split form as well. Let me show you a split form. Where did they do that? I actually skipped over that, I guess. Where did that go? I know we did a split form. Well, we did it in the first section, and I somehow skipped over split form. Joining tables, join properties, report, form, oh, maybe it comes later. I'm going to skip the part about needing to export to a Excel data sheet. And in the records and the join, we'll do the calculate. Make this. We might skip the split form if I don't come across it. I must have missed it. We're going to now do a query that is going to be a little special. Let's close this report, or simple form, I mean. We're going to now go back to that query, appointments and treatments. We're going to do another modification to that. So I'm going to right-click Design View on that. And we're going to want to do something else here. Right now, I get sorted by appointment date, then sorted by the treatment name. But we have a type and a cost, or yeah, animal type and cost. Oh, we need another field to be added. Yeah, we're creating a new query here. We're not using that one. I forgot. We're creating a new query. So let's go back to Create, Query Design. This one, we only care about the veterinary vendors table. It's not a joined query this time. Just the veterinary vendors. And the fields that I'm interested in are the vendor name, skipping the street address, just jumping to the state, and then the veterinary supply, what type of supply they're giving us, and the quantity and the cost. Now we're going to use this to calculate our total value of our inventory eventually. I view this data, and I see that I have all my vendors. And let's see, are we sorting them? I don't know if we're sorting them on any field. No, I don't see us doing any sorting on any field. But we have this information, pretty useful, with how many I have in inventory and what their cost is. But I need to calculate the total value of my inventory. Right now I'd have to go manually sum these up. Well, remember back in Excel I could do this. I suppose I could export all this to Excel and then do the calculations using the sum function, or perhaps I could see if Access could do this. And yes, indeed, Access can help me with this. Let me show you how Access can help you do this calculation of quantity time costs to give you a subtotal in another column. Go back to Design View, and what I can do here is in this empty end column, we're going to put a formula there. I can just type by hand. And I have an example of what that looks like right here. here is the formula that we're going to put there. So back here in Design View, right here on that empty column, I'm going to type total cost colon, which is Access's way of saying that's the name that's going to be given to this column, total space cost. Colon means, okay, now here's the calculation, here's the function, it's in square brackets, quantity, and I have to spell it exactly right to reference the field called quantity. Square brackets is saying, like Excel, referencing a cell. This time I'm referencing a column name, and I'm going to multiply that using the asterisk, and that times in square brackets the cost field. So like Excel, I can reference my quantity and cost field, put that number in here for every row as I gather the rows from the table, veterinary vendors table. And for some reason I actually unclick the show part. Let's now view the data, and look at that, it's doing a total cost for me. Now it's not giving me my subtotal. I think I can tell it to actually give me my subtotals. Let's see if I can have it do that. I thought I could give totals. Yeah, the summation there. Now if I just click on totals there, in that little summation guy, now when I run the query again, look at that. It gives me the subtotal. Oh, that's not my subtotal. I thought it would be giving me that. Let's try that. There we go. If I click there. There we go. Oh, I don't know why is it giving me totals. Go back to Design View. Maybe turn that off. Let's try that again. Why is that not totaling up for me? Oh, there we go. I have to click this and say, yeah, give me the sum. That's right. I have to go down there and say, oh yeah, give me the sum. There I have my total. Now, total cost is meaningless because it's the quantity time cost that's meaningful. So here is a way for me to get the total inventory cost. Remember what I did? I turned on totals by clicking that guy right there, and then I selected give me the sum. That gave me the sum of all my total costs. And there is my total value of my retail value of my inventory that I need to probably report on my tax forms. Or my insurance company that's going to insure me and return that. So very useful, few little options there. Knowing this means I can do my own calculation of something. Very much Excel-like, but instead of referring to a row and column, I'm referring to a square bracket column name. Well, we're almost done with AC2. Let's see here what else we got to go. We might skip a few things that are in the book. I always showed you that we can do the sum total and statistics. Oh, and I forgot to save this. I better save this before I forget. Let's save it as, let's see, we're on page AC247. Let's do a save of this one. Giving it AC2-47. I'm going to give it, 2-47. And this is M02Q10. And what is it? It is a calculated field. Total cost. Very useful to be able to do some calculations right there. Otherwise, I'd have to export this to Excel, and of course we could do it in Excel because everybody knows Excel, but you could do it much faster without having to export the data to Excel. Remember, we can always export data, send it to Excel, or import it from Excel. We did the imports. You could export it if you wanted to. And I think we'll stop there because we're going to get started on the first part of Access 3. So go ahead and close this and upload it to Schoology. Close the query. Close access. Upload it. And then we're going to save it as AC3. I should have done a save as before closing it. I'm going to go back. AC2. This is AC2. That's right. I forgot to do a save as, so I'm going to go back and open it and do a file save as now to prepare for Access Part 3. So Access Part 3 just builds on AC2. So I'm going to do a save as, database, and go back down to save as. There we go. And I'm going to call it over here in my special folder. Section 2. I'm going to call it Smart AC3. The starting point for AC3. And we'll enlarge this again so you can see our full. I'll give you a few minutes there to get that uploaded to Schoology, and you will have completed AC Project 2. We're starting with AC2, and one of the first things they have us do is modify a query. Actually, use a form. Oh, maybe this is where they do the split form. Now I remember. Now we're going to do a split form. Y'all ready to go, AC3? Okay, here we go. We saved AC2 by doing a file save database as. Now we're going to create the split form. On the veterinary vendors table. Remember how we can create a form on the query or create a form to edit our table. So veterinary vendors, I can select that, and then I can click create, and I could do a simple form, that would be the 3-click, but I can also do the more forms, and I can create what they call a split form. I don't find them terribly useful. I'm happy to just look at the datasheet view by just opening my table. But a split form lets you see, and I'll double click this to give us more room to see this, my form itself, a simple form on the top, the actual data being edited, highlighted down in datasheet view down below. So as I go through the form, I can edit the data here. And let's see, if I edit Duncan Supplies, let's see, I have to be, oh, I can't edit it now. If I go to Form View there, let's see if it edits. Yeah, now it lets me edit it. And see, it doesn't show the change here until I think I go to a different field. And then it shows the change I made up in Form View. So it's like I have two ways of editing and viewing the data. Form View or Datasheet View. I find this comfortable enough because it's a lot like an Excel spreadsheet.
How did you open this again?
What's that?
How did you open this?
How to get split view? Let me show you again. I just select the veterinary vendors table, create, more forms, split form. If you don't have anything selected, split form will be grayed out.
Okay.
Now I can view it in split form. Anything I edit up here will also be editing it and showing me the changes once I go to a different field. And let's see, if I change it over here, I don't see the change reflected up here until I go to a different column, and then it shows, oh yeah, you just edited that. So I can edit it in either place. And I think, and partly because I can't edit the changes unless I'm in Form View here, it's a little more confusing. If I go to Design and view the form, I can edit it in either place, either up here or down here. I don't see the reflection until I go to a different column. Ooh, I go to a different row and then come back, and then it shows me the change. I hadn't noticed that before. Now we're going to use this to actually navigate to the last enter new data on my record. I could have just gone down here and start typing, or I can go to new record. See how it highlights that new record down there? I don't need to type in an ID. I can type in a vendor name, and we're going to add a new vendor. It's going to be Duncan Veterinary Supplies. Nothing happens until I start typing. Once I start typing, it says, oh, you're adding new data. I will give it an auto number ID. You don't have to type the ID, and it's Duncan Veterinary Supplies. And I can tab to the next entry. Now notice how when I'm at an entry up here, it highlights the cell down below. And we'll give it an address 5800 something circle. Curtis Avenue. Hardly read that. Tab to the city is Dolores. Oh, wait a minute, I'm in the wrong one. The new one, wait a minute, here we go. The new one is there we go. Wrong name. We already have Duncan Veterinary Supplies. I thought something was weird there. It's Global Pet Supply. And this is on 8001 Western Way. I was on the wrong page on the textbook, Western Way. This one is the one in Dallas, Texas. And we had an objection in the previous section. If you don't want to have anybody in Texas, you can choose a different state. They had some problem with Texas. I'm not sure why. We had a prolonged discussion of what's wrong with Texas. And they are providing a feline leukemia vaccine. I'm not sure there's such a thing. And quantity 50, and cost is $9.75. Pretty low cost leukemia vaccine. I think these costs, you can probably multiply by 10 for today's costs. Ridiculous how much pets cost. Don't get a pet unless you're ready to throw a lot of money at it. They cost money. Every year, you gotta actually at least pay for the license. Could have a whole other discussion about whether to treat them like a child, family member. Okay, so that is the first form in the part 3, basically maintaining, modifying an existing database. This part 3 is the most likely thing you'll encounter. Someone will give you a database that they have created or someone else found, and they think, hey, will this be useful to us? You should be able to at least open it and have some clue of how to view things in it. I'm not expecting, just from having this class, that you actually will design tables or queries, but some people have and have done pretty well. You can figure this stuff out. You may have, and enjoy it, you could have a good career in just using Access. And let's see if they want a name for this one. Give it a name. I'm going to give it a name, AC3-5. Let's call it AC3-5. I'll leave veterinary vendors in there. AC3-5. Split form. So we got started on AC3, just manipulating, not doing much except we added a record using the split form. Could have done the same thing using a regular simple form, or just editing the table itself. I could have added it there. But forms give you a little more control. You can actually keep people from messing with some values and say, you're only allowed to go correct the vendor's name. Don't let them actually touch the cost or quantity. You can design forms that only make certain ones changeable. But that's for the more advanced classes. So I'll stop there. We'll continue AC3 on Wednesday as we finish up the databases. So here's what we did today. Have a great day. And the recording is